Welcome to Future Consideration, SB Nation's NFL Draft Show. That's Dan. He watches college football.
This is true. That is Matt. He's our NFL guy.
I am. So let's kick things off,
yes,
as we do every week, talking about mocking the draft's mock draft this week.
Yeah, it looks very similar to what we've seen these past few weeks. Jameis #1 to Tampa Bay. No surprise there. Leonard Williams shifts into the #2 position for Tennessee.
It's a good choice.
A really good addition alongside on the same defensive line as Jarrell Casey. Your thoughts?
I like it. Anytime you draft kind of a can't-miss, meaty interior lineman guy, like Leonard Williams might be the most ready to play.
He's the most tantalizing prospect in this draft, I think.
I mean, maybe not Tennessee's biggest need, but certainly not a pick that I can quibble with.
Right. At #3, Dante Fowler, of course, the Florida product, going to Jacksonville. Makes sense, although their pass rush last year wasn't the worst. That was not their biggest need, but with value, I don't know if Fowler's top 5. He's right around there for me. I think they could go in another direction.
Probably. Chris Clemens will be 34 in October, so as he ages out, they'll need a new pass rusher. Is Fowler that guy? I don't know.
I think you trade this pick down and just stack assets.
Somebody wants Mariota there.
Yes. We've got Amari Cooper to Oakland. We've had that before, and Randy Gregory to Washington, excuse me.
2 picks that I don't think either you or I don't really love either one of them.
No. Another set of teams that I think could build assets and get better through volume. These guys I don't value that high. So right around there, but not there. Let's skip down a little bit.
Yes.
Eric Kendricks going to Miami.
The Dolphins have invested a lot of money in a linebacking core that not much has panned out. So going with young talent at inside linebacker makes a lot of sense.
He's been one of the surest things at linebacker, just in terms of making fundamentally sound tackles, not letting anybody by him going sideline to sideline. Yes, he is an extremely, could be the best inside linebacker in this draft.
At 17, San Diego taking TJ Clemmings. A little curious. They just locked up King Dunlap at left tackle, and they have
DJ Fluker,
another first-round pick at right tackle. This would necessitate a move to guard for Fluker, I guess. He's a very strong player. But
if they really feel like they need to stack up offensive linemen just to, Phillip Rivers and sort of the twilight portion, I guess, of his career to protect him, they don't have anybody at running back at the moment, a pure running back. So this would just be like a pure value play here.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's not like Phillip Rivers is going to run away from anybbe.
Right. Next.
At 24, A.J. Cann, the guard out of South Carolina.
I love this pick for Arizona.
Yeah, their running game last year was terrible. Paul Fenica is going to be a free agent. Jonathan Cooper can't stay healthy.
Right.
It's a position of need for him.
Invest in maulers. Don't invest in the running back in the first round. That's my general sort of strategy. And with Jonathan Cooper, as you mentioned, his health has not been ideal. So really stack up that offensive line, especially Carson Palmer perhaps coming back. He needs protection. That's what we've learned about Carson Palmer.
And the last pick that we're talking about this week, number 29, the Colts taking Andrus Peat.
Andrus Peat. Yes, a very good football family. Played at Stanford. Stanford offensive linemen have been very good in college, at least, but they are really well trained coming into the league. Great physical tools. I don't know if he's the most polished. Did make some mistakes. Was a little bit undisciplined at Stanford. Not the biggest need for Indianapolis, but when you have Andrew Luck, by all means invest in him.
Anthony Costanzo's got the left tackle position locked down, but Gosder Cherilus had a rough last year. So
and they showed that they could run the ball even without the miracle that is Trent Richardson.
He's right here.
Yeah. Oh, there he is
on Cleveland.
It's a different jersey than I've seen him in recently.
Yeah, good times.
Yes.
Well, that's our review of highlights from this week's mock draft from our friends at Mocking the Draft. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about the best offensive tackles in this draft. Not a deep draft for OTs.
Not the deepest offensive tackle draft. I don't think there's a top 10 value unless you look at Brandon Scherf, who's my #1. Could be slid inside just because he's so strong.
So strong.
Yes, he
got that Midwest meat on him.
I think it was the power clean, the hang clean, whatever he did on video. It is ridiculous. But yes, he is the brute force. He is the #1. Probably not projected as a tackle, but we'll see. Just because he does have so much functional strength.
Power clean to Volkswagen.
Yes, that is factually correct. TJ Clemmings, who we mentioned, at #2, he's a ridiculous athlete for a tackle coming out of Pitt. Did a great job for them. Very explosive, great hands, still a little bit raw for the position, but he plays on an anger level that you want, that sort of screams top 20 pick.
Yeah, it's strange that he's the first offensive tackle going off the board here at 17 in this mock draft.
Unless you count Scherf,
And then #3, Lyle Collins out of LSU.
Lyle Collins out of LSU, just an absolute mauler. Has some questions in pass protection, but once he grapples you, once he gets his hand on you, you are going through the grass.
Really?
That's what happens with Lyle Collins.
He buries people.
That is a great pick, and he appears to be like a top 25 value.
Okay, and then we have DJ Humphries out of Florida. Tell me about him.
A lot of the same thing. He actually was smaller in college. He's put on a lot of good weight before the combine, looked good at the combine, plays angry, probably the angriest offensive lineman in this draft, which you want.
He's just angry.
I love the anger. I don't know what it is. You want offensive linemen who are not satisfied with just wounding people.
True.
You want burial. He does need to work on pass protection. He has some bending issues. He's a bit of a leaner. That's what I've learned. Bit of a bender. But yes, DJ Humphries is again somebody that could. He's a big variable just because he's so good and like his peak might be higher than everybody else. So he could be top 25. He could be top 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then rounding out your top 5, Eric Flowers. Don't call him Erec.
Just do not.
No.
Just don't. He probably doesn't like it.
It's creative spelling, but
I'm uncomfortable with it.
No.
He is somebody that you can only describe as dominant. These guys have a very similar build in that he is large. He is great in the run game. If you are lined up against him, that's that.
He's got some big ham hocks.
That he has big ham hocks. He's very good. A ton of power. He's got terrific feet. He can get a little bit sloppy in pass protection. You know, some of the quicker pass rushers, you know, maybe somebody like Randy Gregory in this year's draft, guys like that, they're a little undersized. He'll struggle with them at times, but if he gets a hold of you, play over.
He's got terrific feet. Don't be surprised if Rex Ryan drafts him.
That's true.
Those are Dan's top 5 offensive tackles in this year's draft.
Yes.
Let's move on. Let's talk about team needs in the NFC North.
Yes, I'm going to lean on you, NFL guy.
Okay, fine.
So the NFC North, not a lot of teams stopping the run. So I guess let's start with Chicago.
The team that does not stop the run the most.
One of those teams, yeah.
And so as we look at their biggest need, it's just kind of everywhere on the defense.
It is.
Charles Tillman, 34, torn triceps. It looks like his career is coming to an end. Lance Briggs, a free agent, not likely to come back. They've basically been a horrible bottom 5 defense the last 2 years, ever since Levy Smith left.
Their great addition already, though, is Vic Fangio. Shifting to that 3-4 that he ran so successfully
but they have a lot
49ers.
of players that don't really fit in the 3-4. So they're going to, outside of last year's top draft pick, Kyle Fuller, they've got some serious needs on defense. And then on the other side of the ball, the offensive line wasn't great last year, but that was a lot of that had to do with injuries, but they need a definite upgrade at right tackle.
Yes.
Jordan Mills is not the starting right tackle that you want.
Right. Offensive line and just right up the middle, the linebacking core of the defensive line makes the most sense for Chicago.
Yeah.
Next, let's go the Lions. Speaking of losing beef and losing defenders, where do they need to go?
Offensive line, another... What team doesn't need help on the offensive line? You always need more bodies, but for them specifically, left guard and right tackle. Travis Swanson should be able to replace Dominic Raiola pretty well. Left guard, Rob Sims has been in the NFL forever.
I remember him.
He's aging, declining, and a free agent.
He was in Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yes. And at right tackle, Adrian Waddle, one of the best names for an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Not so much an actual good offensive lineman. So left guard, right tackle, and then defensive tackle.
These are the headliners.
Obviously, the biggest name, Ndamukong Suh. They're going to try to keep him, but even then, they're probably going to lose Nick Fairley.
They're not going to be able to afford both.
Not the young CJ Mosley, the other CJ Mosley.
It's very confusing.
And let's see. Running back, they just cut Reggie Bush.
They did.
So they need someone to pair with Joyke Bell.
Yes.
Probably not your first round pick, but
at
some point they're going to need to draft a running back.
You would assume somebody can succeed in that offense, though, with how well they can throw the ball.
I would think so. But maybe like a scat back.
I would like somebody that was able to pass block and somebody that can catch out of the backfield.
And then rounding out their needs, after Darius Slade, they've got some holes at cornerback. Rasheem Mathis was really solid for them, but he's going to be 35 in August, and he's a free agent. So
a team,
don't be surprised if they go for a cornerback.
A team that's been good for quite some time now. Green Bay has done a very good job addressing their issues both in the draft and in free agency.
They're so good at building and keeping their own players.
Maintaining is so hard. What do they need to do?
Well, when we talk about maintaining, keeping their players, Brian Balaga, their right tackle, excellent right tackle, could play left tackle for a lot of teams probably.
Yep.
He's in free agency, and if he leaves, they'll need a new right tackle. Their biggest concern, and we saw it last year on the defense, inside linebacker. They just cut A.J. Hawk and Brad Jones. That was such a position of need for them that they actually moved their best player, Clay Matthews, into the inside linebacker throughout the year.
A particularly important position in that division with how much there has to be in coverage and support the run.
And then speaking of supporting the run, defense, nose tackle, B.J. Raji and Latroy Guion, both free agents.
Yeah.
And both coming off of issues, one of torn biceps for Raji and Guion with
how much do you invest in somebody that has been so good when he's healthy, but you know that you have the injury concerns.
Exactly. And then I'd probably add to the mix Tremont Williams is a free agent, so probably a new cornerback for them.
All right, Minnesota, a team that's actually surprisingly stacked in certain parts, but will have a couple of major issues.
This is a team that's on the rise. They've got their quarterback situated, so they can actually take some chances, I think. A big thing that they have a position of need now, wide receiver. Greg Jennings, 32, obviously on the downside of his career. Cordell Patterson.
Major step back last year.
Major step back, former first-round pick, and maybe you expect a bounce-back year, but when Charles Johnson is the breakout wide receiver for you.
That's an issue.
Yeah, you have an issue. Left guard. Their offensive line wasn't great last year, but the big place they need to upgrade is left guard, where Charlie Johnson is not getting a job.
They were decent. They do have that hole, and then Adrian Peterson and his future and what they approach with the running back position.
It seems more and more likely that he's not going to come
back
not great, Bob.
Vikings. Not great, Bob.
And Matt Asiata is not the running back of the future for anybody.
Yeah, and on the other side of the field, linebacker. It seems like we've talked about this last year. Still an issue, even with the addition of the very good Anthony Barr on one side.
Is very good. But Chad Greenway is losing a step every season. Counts has a big cap hit. And I would just like to see an improvement in terms of quality. And also, strong safety might be an issue for them. Robert Blanton got benched by Mike Zimmer at the end of the season. So look for him to improve the secondary, too.
I expect that defense to keep getting better and better with Zimmer. I really like him a lot.
He's a fantastic coach. All right, so that is our NFC North needs in the draft.
That's a fun division. I like it.
Yeah, I do too. And I like this episode of Future Consideration. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.